Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? Russ here from PORKYS Corner, the biggest gob in sport. We say the things on here that everybody wants to say. And if you want to do a Zoom with me, get in touch. porkycorner@mail.com. It's bottom left-hand corner. Our sister channel is PORKYS International. And today we're joined by Ian, who's making his debut. How you doing, Ian? How you doing, mate? You all right? Unmute. Unmute. We always have the same problem, don't we, whenever anybody comes on for the first time. It must be hereditary with boxing fans. It's a good start for Ian's debut. Let's hope he's...
Right, there we go. You can hear me now, can't you?
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not a techie guy, so yeah.
Where are you from, Ian?
Sorry about that.
Where are you from?
A place called Horsham, which is near Gatwick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're a southern...
The south.
South, yeah.
The south, yeah.
Right. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
How long have you been a boxing fan?
Probably from about 2015.
Yeah.
I done a white collar fight. Well, I done a couple. I got into them, yeah, about 2015, and I'd loosely been following boxing, you know, just watching the big fights as a casual, and then I just started getting more into it when I was training, and I love it now. Just any kind of, not just boxing, MMA, you know, any kind of combat sport. I like the one championship. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, the thing with boxing is like it's not on as much, is it? Like with UFC, you get every week, you know, you can really get into it. Football, obviously, you get it every week. With boxing, it's like it's not often enough, which you know annoys me.
Yeah, it's it seems like there's big weights in between the fights, doesn't it? For the big fights.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you think it's because of the damage they sustain? That's why they can't fight as often?
No, not really, because it's not any more damage that they wouldn't have had in the 70s and 80s. And I mean, if you go back in time, yeah, look at Sugar Ray Robinson fought every month, didn't he? You know, people like that.
Yeah.
Joe Lewis fought regular, didn't he? Jake LaMotta. So why could they do it? And in longer round fights, and these days they're a bit more wrapped in cotton wool, I think. So I don't think it's that. I think it's the actual promotion of it to generate enough money. It's the promoters at fault. That's my personal opinion. They're always trying to ram it down our throats, whereas you couldn't have Tyson Fury fighting 12 times a year or 8 times a year, could you? Because the promotions take that long to big it up and do tours. Do you see where I'm coming from? So it's about
it's all about the pound note then. Yeah.
About them promoters filling the boots, and that's what they're doing exactly, and that's what they've always done. And when the boxers are all knocked about and that, and they put over Bricktop and Eddie Hills, put them on the shoulders and take them to meat market, they're still going to be earning promoters. They move on to the next one, like when Tyson Fury's done, he's got Dubois. When he's done, he's got Moser Vatame. When Joshua's done, Eddie will be on to the next guy, and on and on and on it goes, doesn't it? You see?
Yeah. Quickly then, what's your thoughts on Tyson Fury? See, I get a lot of shit for this because, you know, you put stuff in, you go online and you go to these boxing fan pages, you know, and I'm a bit outspoken and you just get jumped on for any criticism. But it's like the way I look at it, like what Tyson Fury done after he beat Klitschko and he went off and, you know, he went off the rails and he come back, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, I think there's more to it. Like, you know, he's seen as a hero for it and he's seen as like an advocate for mental health. But in my opinion, it doesn't, it's, if you want to advocate for mental health, the moral would be don't do what Fury done. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, if anything, I think people like AJ who you know, despite having, I mean, imagine if you had AJ money, right? Would you be able to go in the gym every day and still train and still eat right and all that? Like for me, that should be respected more than someone who's gone off the rails, then has come back with massive financial incentives to get back in the ring. See what I mean?
My own personal opinion is, and it's not just my opinion, I never believed the mental health thing. I believe it was done to put pressure on the testing people and the border control and all that, so they could play the blame game. So I never believed the mental health, because you had that Nandrolone charge then, which got hid away, didn't it? Then there were a cocaine, and then there were a refusal of cocaine. And I think after this first cocaine one, I think he were really in trouble. And then when they come again to test him, and he refused that one, Peter went chasing down Halliwell Road in Bolton after the testers, his uncle. I think he were in massive amounts of trouble then, and that's when he really went off the rails, because up till then he was still training. So I don't believe he went off the rails from the beginning. So I've got photographs here in my house showing me that, showing me and Tyson a year afterwards, after the Vladimir, it was my 46th birthday actually, the photograph, and it's a year after he beat Vladimir, and he was in shape then. So, because he got in touch with me, he asked me to come and move a table from his father-in-law's, a jeweller's on Scott Lane. He were with Paris Fury's brother. So he could come move this table with me. I went, yeah, I went straight down. I've been up all night because it was my birthday. I got down there and they managed to get it in, and they were in you've got the heavyweight champ of the world in a white 53 plate Astor Estate, old dusty old thing, and they got this table in back. And I was looking at him and I thought, heavyweight champ at World Unified, Astor Estate, and they were taking it to wherever they were taking it. But I've got a photograph there, and he was in shape then. So all that about him going off at rails 15 November, rubbish. He went off the rails after the refusal.
Yeah.
Third test, the third issue, the refusal. That's when he went off the rails. And I think that we're all just to play the blame game. So I never bought into the mental health game. And I know a lot of people who didn't. Whether he wants to keep winning it, I don't know. But you know what they say, don't you, Ian? Once you tell a lie, you got to tell another, or shut it down. Now they've kept telling lies, haven't they? It's a bit like the 7 million to charity. Oh, they were on his case.
Yeah.
They were on his case then. What did he do? He didn't keep going on and on. They shut it down, didn't they? Refused to speak to anybody about it. And everybody who refused press access, wasn't they, who kept mentioning it. So a very complex character. Can he fight? Yes. Has he fought selected opponents? Yes. Didn't fight Luis Ortiz. He was having nightmares about David Price. But then again, everybody were at the time, weren't they? All thought they were going to come and kill us in our beds. So he got Vladimir at the right time. He were offered him 4 years previous. See where I'm coming from? They threw him to Wilder, only because Bricktop thought he had nothing left. After them couple of comeback fights, they threw him in with Deontay Wilder. They got a rematch out of that one, and he did him in rematch. So very complex guy. He's not fought Joshua yet. He'd fight him now because he's all busted up, isn't he? See where I'm coming from?
Yeah. It's all about timing.
Yeah, he's entertaining. Yeah, and is he an engaging kid? Yeah, he's an engaging kid. But he's entertainment, isn't he? When he bowls in anywhere, you've got the big entourage, you've got the father beating the drum and all that. They stand out like sore thumbs. It's what people want now, isn't it? Car crash. But when you scratch the surface, these are the champions he's beat. Steve Cunningham, an old washed-up cruiserweight in a life and death, who dropped him. And Peter Fury went in the corner that night because he refused a visa. He was on a plane back to UK because he tried to go from Canada into America, didn't they? Via a train, and they got pulled. So Steve Cunningham, and you've got Vladimir, pushing 40-year-old, an old man. We agree on that, don't we? But he done him.
Yeah.
With the man at the time, fair enough. And 2 wins of a Wilder, a one-trick pony. That is it. That's the CV. Where's the rest of the champions on his CV? For all the hype and all the GOAT, self-confessed GOAT, his CV doesn't stack up, does it? To what and Joshua's done as well, does it really? When you go through his as poor as a church mouse, isn't it really?
Yeah, I just think, Porky, like I feel like AJ, I think the narrative with AJ is wrong. The fact that they've tried to push he was a criminal, he's come from that, he's turned his life around. That's the kind of narrative. I think that they're missing a beat with the narrative should be that he should be respected for, despite making so much money, he's actually still fought. He stayed in the gym. He stayed in shape.
Yeah.
I think, that's the reason I respect him more than the bullshit story about him being a criminal and, that kind of story like that. That's nothing. It doesn't really do it for me. I think it's interesting, the narratives, we get. I get why they do it. They build up a story and people get behind it, and people can, they get it. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's not a narrative that should be respected. If you're getting paid 5 million or however much Fury got to come back, it's not going to be difficult to stay in the gym and cut out all the bad stuff for a few months, is it really? I mean, I think most problem drinkers and users will be able to do it with that much incentive.
I'll start on the Joshua one before I go on the Fury one. The Fury one, I'll mention this in case I forget. When you're fighting people like White and Chisora and Ngannou in his second fight, you don't need that strong a camp there for people like that. So that's put to one side, that, because they're not roadmen either. They're all bashed up on it. Dylan White, Chisora have never been world champions. And Ngannou were in his debut fight, wasn't he? And then we go to Joshua. His CV's pish, in my opinion. Absolute pish. There's an asterisk next to every single one of them. Vladimir, come on, 42-year-old. 18-month on settee. Parker, the Stinkinator, that was a shocking fight. Povetkin, he was a regular champion. Ruiz rematch. And there's another one, isn't there, who he beat as well. I'm trying to think who that one is. But the point I want to make is Joshua, his CV is shocking. But if you look at Joshua's story, he had a 9 ounce, he scored 9 ounces of weed, sold an ounce. They got him on his phone and it nailed him because of his phone. Sold an ounce, so he put 8 ounces back in his GB bag, in boot, speeding through North London, got pulled in his bike police. Police have his wound window down. Police have gone, can smell it, right? And they took him out there, but it was already on bail for giving somebody a good hiding who was a small fella. So he ended up with a 2-week in Reading, didn't he? He's hardly Papillon, is he? That's it.
So he wasn't on remand then? Was he on remand?
Yeah, he got remanded 2 weeks. McCracken went to court for him. Robert McCracken went out of his way. He went to court for him, and they got him a combination, or it's known as a combination order, where you get a suspended, you get community service and probation and all that. So he didn't do too bad out of it, but they're making out like he was this roadman killer, or just a low level weed.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that narrative, it falls apart when you actually go into the detail. That's what I mean.
Go into the details. They're talking about Anthony Joshua like he were Al Capone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely.
But, that's the bottom line of it here. I'll tell you who Joshua's beat. I think he's got 5 wins over champions. Let me have a look. Oh God, his CV is shocking. The more I look at it, Vladimir first one, Joseph Parker second, Povetkin third, Andy Ruiz.
Charles Martin.
Andy Ruiz 4, is it? Eh? Andy Ruiz 4. That is it. That he ain't got a 5th.
No, what about Charles Martin?
Charles Martin. Well,
yeah.
Charles Martin, who got the belt off, but didn't he get it by default because it was really Fury's belt? So Charles Martin were a paper champ, right? Vladimir were an old man. Then we've got Charles Martin, Vladimir, old man, who've been on settee. Joseph Parker, he got it with Fury's belt. Andy Ruiz, who had already beat him. Do you know what I mean? And Povetkin, it's a shocker, really, isn't it? 2 seconds. Let me just answer this. 2 seconds. I'm not being rude here. Oh, go on, I'll turn it off. Right. So, as far as I'm concerned, pair of them have stayed away from each other and gone in a different direction, and they've been building it up and building it up and building it up, this fight. But it's overkill now because they've both been knocked about and they've both not really got mega wins on the records, have they? They beat who they've had to beat, who the promoters have put in front of them. But I think the general public have been sold a load of old tosh. That's just my opinion on it. I don't know what you think about it, but their stories just don't add up. It's a
No.
manipulation of the press, and it's a manipulation of platforms that they go on. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff with Joshua has been brushed under the carpet. He's got away with murder because he's had a big machine behind him.
Yeah.
The
Well,
fact
Porky, though, the thing is, for the exact reasons you just said, like manipulation of the media and the story, the narratives, the exact reason why the fight will still be big, because people like us who understand what's going on, will be critical, but forget, like, the bulk majority of people, who don't understand what's going on, they will still buy into it, because they, like you say, they will use the media to build it up, and by the time it comes to fight week, everyone would have forgotten about whatever happened before, and it will be, this is the UK biggest fight in the UK for however many years, and because think about, like, just the way the general public are nowadays. We're like them goldfishes that just, like, say something, then 2 seconds later forget it and move on, like, very fickle, so for that reason, I think actually it still will be, they'll be able to package it as a major fight, and it will pay,
well, listen,
which is a bit unfortunate.
what will happen is they'll wheel Eddie Hills out, they'll wheel Bricktop out, who's doing more interviews than he's ever done and basking in the glory. Quite rightly so, because he's getting his moment.
Yeah.
He's been Eddie's
Yeah.
had a foot on his neck for the last 13 years. Hasn't he? They'll wheel them out.
Yeah.
Got all the YouTubers, they've got them all in line, all them we access, and they all do good views. They've got all the lot
Yeah.
of them in line, and they've got TalkSport in line. If you go against him with TalkSport, you get shunned, no access, or you get a legal letter. Everything's a legal letter with Bricktower. That's just how he is. Or Eddie won't give them access, and so they all want to be on the gravy train. They're all needed. Look, let me just say this, and it's in case anybody don't understand this. Promoters run boxing, and now they run the boxing media. In the football, the FA, they don't run the media. The media do their own thing. In boxing, it's a little bit different because you're dealing with people in the media who are ex-boxers. You have people like Spencer Oliver, Juggiers. He's like a little plant at TalkSport. They go to him for his advice and that, but what he's doing all his mates in the industry favours all the time. Then you jump over to Sky Sports. You've got Johnny Nelson, who's doing everybody favours, who his pals. Or he were at Sky for years. Now he's gone a little bit other way. Not quite, but he's turning it other way. And these people are in positions of authority where they're working in the media. So they'll go into that for, like, the mates, like Spencer Oliver, when he went to that press conference after Usyk beat Joshua the second time. He was stood there and he's saying, "You were beating the best boxer in the world, outbox him," and all that. How is that? And coming out with utter baloney. And that's what happens. And then you've got Johnny Horsecock on other end of the scale. When they're reading out the fights, Anthony Joshua's fighting Takam, and he's saying he's like George Foreman and Holyfield roll into one. And it's a tough night for Joshua. What? Somebody taking a fight at 12 days' notice? Do you see where I'm coming from? A manipulation of the press. And I feel I have to point these things out. And I get a lot of stick.
You're correct.
I'm not bothered.
No, you're right. Yeah.
So 2 seconds.
But we do. That's the thing. You
seconds.
do get stick for telling the truth. Yeah.
You'll have to do like some filming. All right, cheers. Sorry about that. I've got electrician in now because I've got a leak from bathroom going into the spotlights in the kitchen. So, so this is a manipulation of the press, basically. And they've got away with it for years. And now people are starting to say, hang on a minute, what's going on here? I mean, you got all these YouTubers. I'm not having a go at them, and people saying, you're jealous. Look, I've got better things to do than me chasing up and down the country with a camera, asking questions that are like, I call them liquor questions. They don't ask, they're tickling the feet, aren't they? I'm not going too heavy. These YouTubers want access and they want to earn the cent a few quid. And if they weren't doing this, they'd probably be on Dole or working in Lidl. You see where I'm coming from? They're not going to push the boat out too far. And them that have, they soon get cut off at the waist. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So, it spreads to the masses, Ian. And people like you must look at it now and think, God, we've been so low on the road tosh, haven't we? Because really, when you scratch the surface, It's fake news. And what are we looking at here? How are these all-time greats? How can you put Joshua in the same bracket as Ali, which is what Eddie Hills has been doing for years now? And Tyson Fury's running around with an hat on that says he's the greatest of all time. On what? Based on what? When you look at Lennox Lewis beat 14 champions, Ali beat 16 in a one champion era. And Fury's beat 4 and he's beat 5, Joshua. But like I said, you read them out. Charlie Martin, asterisk next to it. Vladimir, asterisk next to it. Joseph Parker, the Stinkinator. Andy Ruiz, you know, he'd already flattened him once. And in rematch, he ran for his life, Joshua. And Povetkin, who were a regular champion, he was pushing 40. See where I'm coming from? There's an asterisk next to him. And then the defences. Pulev, an old man. Eric Molina, Dominic Brazil. Come on, when's it end? Where does it end? It's got to a stage now where him and Fury now are old men, but Gareth A. Davis, another one, a licker, he's on TalkSport saying, well, he can see they're doing free fights with it and the public will fall for it because there ain't no stars out there now. They're just going to keep wheeling these out. Do we want to see these wheeled out all the time? If we want to see these in a proper fight, let's have Dubois in with Joshua again, which they're doing for money because they know Fury fights always there. Or let's have Fury in with Dubois. Or let's have Dubois in with Usyk. We don't seem to mention that. That's a rematch. They keep squealing about that low blow, don't they? They want a long low blow and all that. Well, do a rematch. They don't want to do a rematch with Usyk, do they? Or they'll wait while he's 40 odd.
So, Porky, got a question for you.
Yeah.
Thing is with Dubois, who's obviously a very good fighter. See, I look at it like, so I saw an article this morning that they're saying Dubois could be stripped of his IBF unless he meets the organisation's guidelines. Hold on. Basically, it's saying that they're looking to strip Dubois already. Do you think that is because with AJ, they had someone who was very marketable, you know, very media friendly, similar with Fury in a way, you know, he could sell, you know, he was very well liked, attention seeker, I suppose. But with Dubois, they're going to struggle to market him. So do you feel like maybe he's going to be on the back foot in terms of, you know, they're not going to be able to push him to be a huge seller. So they're going to kind of do what they can to maybe strip him or make him so he's not the face of boxing? Or am I a bit conspiratorial looking at it like that?
Well, if you were
because obviously you've got to look at the federations, the belt federations like the IBF, they get the, you know, the bigger the star, the more money they get for the sanctioning fees. So it's not in their interest to have someone who's not a massive, you know, celebrity fighting for the belts.
Well, what you've got to look at it like this: Joshua's the draw, isn't he, out of all of them, right? He puts bums on seats.
What I mean, yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, if Dubois faces Joshua again, would it matter if there were a belt online? No, it won't matter because they've both been world champions now. So get rid of belt. Third thing is IBF. Since 1984, they have to turn their books over to FBI, don't they? Every single year, they've got to do everything by the book because they got done. If you go on Google, it'll tell you on Wikipedia that the FBI look at them every single year. So they do everything by the book, the IBF, and their rules state that Dubois is going to have to go down the line, and fight some of them underneath him. I don't know what it is, your McCauley's and people like that, Caballels or whoever's down the underneath him. I mean, that Derek Chisora ranked it with them. I don't know how they work it, but they do things by the book. But would it even matter that if they fought for a belt or not? I mean, they say all roads lead to undisputed for Joshua, but he's not been in an undisputed fight. I think these kids now these boxers now are that big. I don't think belts matter, to be honest. Just get him in ring and get fights on. Get your coats off and get at it. That's what I say. So,
well, more belts, more sanctioning fees, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. If there's no belts, there's no sanctioning fees at fighters. But the IBF especially do things by the book. So we're going to see how. But that fight might not even happen. Joshua Dubois, there might be another planning order, and they've got just to spin the narrative. That's what they're doing behind the scenes. They're all looking to have an easy fight for as much money. Joshua against him's an hard fight, and he might not fight again if he fights him next. So I'd look at it like Joshua, don't fight him in February. That's what I'd say. I won't look at them fighting in February. I mean, I'd look at it as
I think he'll fight Dylan White. I think AJ will fight Dylan White as like a
yeah.
farewell fight,
Well, you can look at that
because
because,
that's winnable.
well, Eddie Hills can milk it one more time and beat and get a winnable fight before they
Yeah,
go for the bar again. They'll be looking to get as much out of Joshua as
yeah,
they can.
exactly.
If they go for
Yeah,
Debar next, he could be done. If they go for Dylan White next,
exactly.
there's still the Debar
Yeah,
fight there. It's pound
yeah,
note.
and it's got a
Pound.
story. It's got a backstory. It could sell.
Backstory for what? Dylan White got one lucky punching in a round that he didn't even win. He never won a round off Joshua, and they fought in amateurs, and Joshua were knocked out, but he was stood up. But in amateurs, then they were
Yeah,
classed as a knockout one if you get a good punch on. So,
yeah.
Dylan
But this
White,
is what I mean, a backstory that they can use. It's not necessarily a good one, but they will monopolize it. Like you say, they'll use all the media outlets to make it into a story, sell a narrative, and,
what they'll
and it
do
will
is
sell.
they'll sell it as WWE, and we'll have it rammed down our throats. They'll wheel Super Bean out on Talk Sport to big it all up, and the Gad and Jug Ears, and then you'll get, all the rest of the YouTubers doing as they're told and spreading it to the masses and overloading our brains with this great fight and sell it as a trilogy and all that. When really,
Yeah,
they fought 10
yeah,
years ago in a fight that was just a run of the mill fight. It wasn't really that big a fight. How it would even pay per view, I don't know. But they managed to wangle that
yeah.
one and sell it on Sky through Super Bean, saying, "Yeah, we'll do pay per view on this." Old Super Bean, who ended up working on darts for him. He's a right lad, isn't he? Him, Super Bean. But it is. That's what they'll do. That's just my opinion. I tell it straight on here, and that's why channel's going from strength to strength at the moment. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Got another one for you. How much time we got?
yeah, go on. You've got about 5 minutes. Go on.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on Dave Allen?
Dave Allen, he's a nice kid. He used to live on the same street as me for donkey's years. He's got his son out there.
Can he beat Fisher?
No, I don't think he can. No, I'd like to think he can, but he'd have to have a camp of his life. But I don't think he's led the life for the last 5, 6 years since he beat Lucas Brown. And I think personally, it'll come home to roost on that night. But the Dave Allen will beat Lucas Brown and White Floor with Fisher. But we can't go back in
Mm.
time, can we? Because we haven't got a time machine. And I think it's a
How
shame.
old is he?
David, I
How
think
old is Dave?
32, David, something like that, 32 or something
So
like
he's not physically, he's not over the hill at all then. So it's
that.
up here, isn't it? It must
I
be
think
up.
he must be 32, David, or 31. Let me have a look.
I really got behind him, like when like the Lucas Brown in a couple of fights before that, and I think he was talking about fighting Povetkin and he had Eddie Hills behind him, and I really got behind him, and I was a bit disappointed, to be honest, when he just seemed to, I don't know what it was, just didn't have the mentality for it. Mate, is it? Do you think maybe it's they say people buckle under the bright lights or something like that, or what is it?
But with David,
Yeah.
David Allen's is good. Spar's good, but maybe on the
That's
night
what I mean.
he
Yeah,
has, he has nerve problems. I don't know. I mean, I spoke with Dennis, had him years. He turned pro with Dennis, and Dennis used to say he's got ability. It's just a case of him doing it under lights. So I don't know. Maybe he don't put as much effort in camps. I don't know. I know he's supposed to be training hard now, but I always think that a leopard doesn't change his spots. But I hope David realizes that this. Well, it won't be his last chance because they'll keep wheeling him out and wheeling him out and wheeling him out, won't they? Because if he loses to
yeah,
Fisher, they'll want to put him in with Moses or Tomei, and then there'll always be somebody else who they want to feed him to. So I don't know, but he gets his son out there on social media. But maybe David's problem is that he should have put a bit more effort into his training than he does social media. Because if you're on Twitter or whatever till 2 in the morning, how can you get up at 6 and do a run? See what I
yeah,
mean? Because you
absolutely.
can
Yeah,
see that on his social media. There's times that stuff goes out, and he works his own social media. So I always used to think, God, how's he going to do his run and that? And he always looked at
mm,
me like you were knackered. And I remember, and this is a true story, because I had the same car as him at the time. Steffi Bull used to pick him up in a red AMG Merc C-Class, same as one I had. He used to pick him up in it morning, afternoon, and night, and take him from Kunigsborough to his gym at Denby, which were 1.2 miles. So I used to think, why didn't he walk it there, warm up, and walk it back,
yeah,
and warm down. And if he did that 6 times a day, that'd get him 2.4 mile times 3. He'd be getting 7.5 mile cardio in a day, and time to clear his head and think about what he's doing instead of being picked up and dropped off. But when you're having to be picked up and dropped off like that, I think that there's, because David doesn't drive. I always used to think he's not that keen, is he, having to be moleculed and tucked at gym. And Steffi got him down 20 odd stone into fighting shape and that. So he needed respect, because Steffi obviously saw something in him that Dennis saw. Do you see where I'm coming from? But if it's not in you to be a gym rat, it's not in you, is it? And not everybody can be like a Scott Quigg or a Kid Galahad, can they? You know, a gym rat kind of thing. That's how I look at it. But I wish him all the best. But I personally think that he's messed everybody about, and he's a messer. That's my own. David, you're a messer. That's the bottom line. He might not like that, or he might think I'm trying to bully him into not being a messer, which I am, because I've banged on about it long enough. He just needs checking into life, because he has got.
Well, that's it. Sometimes people need to be told the truth.
Yeah, you got people. And when we matched him, he got involved in that kind of like, I'm a bit of a star kind of thing, and it took it away from his gym time in. Maybe that's what I think personally, but hey ho. So
I hope he does well. I really do.
Yeah, brilliant. Okie dokie then, Ian. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. It's nice to talk about some Saudi. We mixed it up a little bit today. So spoke very clearly. Pretty clean cut kid. How old are you?
40.
40. What job do you do?
I'm a planner, construction planner, but I work in insurance, sort of consultancy. It's hard to explain.
Okay.
I basically do planning. Let's just say I do planning.
All right then. Well, listen, have a great day, and it'd be nice to have you on again.
You, mate.
Don't forget, in the month of November, whoever does the most views on Zoom, they get 100 quid. How's about that?
Yeah, I'll come on again if you love me, definitely.
You're welcome on any time you want. You just get in touch with me. You've got my number.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, Porky.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thank you very much. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Oh, that were Ian from down south near Gatwick. Women love him, men want to be him. Pretty clean cut kid. Looked about 25, didn't he? What's the secret? All right. That's about it, really. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. Better hit the hard road now. It looks like it's still raining, so I just might do some sit-ups and some light weights. Okie dokie. Go on, peace out. Don't forget PORKYS International. All right, our sister channel. Go on, booyaka.